Hello, everyone. I thought I would talk about why I regret going to college. Now, that's not to say that I didn't learn certain useful skills in college. I did learn a handful, but it wasn't worth it really in the end. The only college where I actually used things that I still use now was public speaking. Because as you know, some of you might know, I lecture sometimes. And so public speaking was quite useful, especially I still use certain templates and outlines that I used in the public speaking class, which I took actually 10 years ago. I can't believe it's actually been that long. But yeah, public speaking was quite useful to me, and I did very well in the class. However, that's really the only one, and also you can now take public speaking in high school. I couldn't take public speaking when I was in high school. The high school that I went to now teaches public speaking. It didn't 10 years ago. And I also learned how to write research papers, which you really only need to know how to do if you're going to be an academic. But that's about it. And now there are several reasons why I regret going to college. In fact, I would say that if I could talk to my 18-year-old self, I'm 29 now, the number one thing I would tell him would be don't go to college, refuse. Now, there was always a part of me that regretted going at the time, but I didn't have the courage to say anything. And that's because so many kids, teenagers, aren't really given any other options. It's just considered a given that they will go to college. Um, their parents don't tell them any different. Their teachers don't give them any alternative, so that's all they hear. So I actually, that's one of the reasons why I think that student debt ultimately should be forgiven, because you have these young teenagers who are taking out loans without really, because of pressure, because of social pressure from the adults when they don't really know what they're going to do. And that's one reason you shouldn't go to college if you don't know what you're going to do. I basically just started. I was in college for around 2.5 years, technically three, but I didn't go one semester. I returned the next semester, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just took general education courses, and when I ran out of general education courses, that's when I quit. And for one of the reasons, of course, why I quit was that I just didn't have a direction in life. I didn't know what to do. And because I knew that if I went into a field where that I enjoyed, that I likely wouldn't get a return on that investment. Like, because I enjoy creative writing. I'm a writer, but I knew that if I went into creative writing, I wouldn't get a return on that investment, and that I would just be thousands of dollars in debt, and I couldn't do anything with it. But that's not the only reason. I also, especially when it comes to fields and subjects that I care about, just don't like being told what to do. Most people who get good grades in school get good grades because they learn how to obey, not because they're actually intelligent or insightful in many cases. And I didn't want, some teacher telling me how I should write, when I should write, what my writing should look like, because most of the time teachers have arbitrary standards for what they consider to be good writing, especially creative writing teachers who think that writing should be minimalistic, that know nothing about classic literature, who have kind of almost a postmodern view of writing. I reject that worldview entirely. So I knew that I would likely clash with teachers if I took creative writing courses and would probably be kicked out because, especially now, I just don't tolerate bullshit anymore. And even in the classes that I did take, there were teachers who, for example, I was the only kid, even as late as 2016, who used a laptop to write my assignments, and and other teachers didn't like that because they often thought I might cheat. Well, I wouldn't handle that nowadays, especially when I often wanted to email teachers my assignments, and some were okay with that, but one wanted to get a hold of my flash drive and make sure that I wasn't cheating, and I wouldn't tolerate that. I would say, okay, it's my way or no way at all. You can't, because I resent you accusing me of cheating just because I use a laptop. That's what, frankly, I consider to be quite bigoted behavior. And that's another thing, is that many of these teachers claim to have what you might call what you might call a liberal or accepting point of view. Many college professors, but when it comes to students who are an inconvenience, that tolerance drops completely. They're hypocrites. It's just a pretense and nothing more. And that's another thing is that college is very ideologically driven. Even though I went in a relatively conservative state like Kentucky, but you still a lot of the professors were left, kind of definitely left leaning. Now, my political views are mixed. I have both right wing and left wing views, or what's considered right wing and left wing views. But I didn't like the ideological conformity because sometimes I would find in papers I would write papers where I would play into the ideological beliefs of the professor so I could get good grades. And you just can't really have any kind of creative environment if there's only one ideology being promoted. And that's just all the reasons why I left college. And plus the student debt, which my parents are still trying to pay off. I didn't know then that it would take so long to pay that student debt off. If I had known, that's another reason why I wouldn't have gone to college, because in the end it just was not worth it. Now, a lot of people consider that if you don't go to college, that means you're just not intelligent or something like that. But in many cases, people who don't like school are just people who don't like conformity. They don't like being told what to do. I love literature. I love writing. I'm a very intellectually curious person, but I don't want to be in an environment where all of that is stifled, where I only have to do things one way. So that's ultimately why I regret going to college.